Okay, now we're back. The handle's set pretty well. It's been going about 20 minutes. It's 15-minute epoxy. As long as I'm careful with it, it'll be fine. I'm going to glue the trim ring in the rear piece of the handle here, but I want to scratch it a little bit on the inside. I also want to scratch all of it quite a bit. The only failure I've had, and the first two failed exactly the same way, and I had to fix them, with this piece came loose. And I'm going to show you how I keep that from happening from now on. So one of the keys is roughing up the inside of this piece of carbon fiber. Okay. Give that a few minutes. Picking out about there. Now, we're going to slide this piece on and the reel seat. Now this piece is going to slide back to here. And then it's going to mate up and be like this. So I'm going to mark the front of my reel seat with some tape. This is as far forward as I'm going to epoxy. Okay. Now we need to build some arbors for the reel seat. They don't have to be very big because we've got that insert in there and that's pretty close to the blank size, not too much of an arbor. Build a couple tape arbors in here. Okay. Reel seat's pretty tight with the arbors. Now what I like to do my mark found here again. What I like to do is I'm going to build an arbor in here. And what that'll do is it will force the epoxy to stay behind. So I'm going to build this up with epoxy and I'm going to get a solid contact between the blank, this part of the handle set, and then this part of the handle set. As I push this forward, you get an awful lot of epoxy in there. So we're going to build a tape arbor right here. Because when I built the first two, and I did not do this, and they both, under duress on a hook set, this part spun loose. And what I found is I had a gap in my epoxy by following the directions from the American Tackle site and not really understanding how this needed to maintain, how it needs to handle the torque. I didn't get good, adhesion here between the blank and the rear part of the grip. Now that's going to need quite a bit more of an arbor, but you get the drift of what I'm doing here. So let's finish this one. Now I've built 40 of these since the first two failures, which I built at exactly the same time, in the same way, and I've had 0 failures. And that includes me abusing them to the point, and even in a flipping stick, where I snapped the rod before I ripped the reel seat or the handle pieces loose. So that's going to come here. That's going to mate up like that. Alright, we need a little bit more tape on this. So, we may have had a camera malfunction. I don't know yet until I get in and start editing, but I've tried to show you guys this a couple times. So I'm going to back up and just show you what I've done in the last few minutes. So the first thing we did is we marked where it's going to sit using the base here, my 11.5-inch trigger that I like. Which is right there. It's perfect. I then marked here where the end of my reel seat is. I marked on the piece here with a pencil where the back of that rear grip piece is going to be. We built tape arbors for the reel seat itself to be snug. And then I've been building an arbor for the back part of the handle piece here. And I want it pretty close to snug, and that's pretty close. And the reason for that is I want to be able to have a full epoxy contact from here through the blank into here. There'll be epoxy running a little bit of a gap there, and then I will wind up shoving a bunch of epoxy into the inside of the reel seat, and we'll make the connection, and it'll look like that when we're done. Okay, so it's time to mix up some sticky stuff. Now the first two I built at exactly the same time. I tried to follow along from the American Tackles videos, and either I missed it or they didn't talk about it, and that is the weak point in this handle assembly is right here. And it's the first two I built failed on hook sets, and what I found is without this arbor you can't keep enough epoxy back here because these actually spun on a hook set. So I slid them back down, and I saw back in here was a big air gap and not epoxy. So my solution to it was to put this large arbor in that when I start putting this epoxy in, I'm going to cake it in here, and we're going to push it full to where it is going to jam this section underneath this part of the handle solid with epoxy. And then when we put it together with the reel seat, we're going to wind up jamming a bunch of epoxy inside the reel seat cavity, and that will all made up and be solid epoxy to here. I built maybe 40 cents the first two that failed. I've not had another failure. So I don't know if it was me just not knowing what I was doing the first time, or that's something that needs to be added to ATC's video instruction on how to do it. But if you do it this way, well, since I've started doing it this way, I've had 0 failures. To the point where, you know, the first one I showed you the example was a flipping stick that I broke the flipping stick and I didn't tear the handle kit loose. So, all right, let's get this mixed up. There's one other thing that I didn't show you guys, and I did it instinctually, big word today, and that is in this rear piece, some of these have the AT embossed in it. And this one is one that does. You can barely see it. I typically line that up with my trigger. You can put it reverse of it. Some of them don't have that embossed ATC or AT. I don't know if you can see that, but it's lined up with my trigger, just so you know. Something to pay attention to. Like I said, they don't all have them. I don't know why, but some of them do, some don't. So I've got a big bunch of 15-minute pro paste here mixed up. We're going to start smearing and getting this thing finished up here. So here we go. Like I said, I'm going to cake a lot of this on and wind up pushing it past this arbor. That's why I didn't make the arbor extremely tight. Because if you make it too tight, it's going to push it out the back of this trim piece, which it probably will a little bit anyway. But that lets you know you got that entire cavity full of epoxy. I didn't mix up enough. So I'm going to mix up another batch very quickly here. Okay, now I probably got too much mixed on there, but I'd rather be squeezing it out and cleaning it up than not have enough. Okay. My hands are quick clean here. Now we're going to shove this forward. To our mark. Which is right there. Pull this down where it's going to be going in the real seat. Now, so bringing the real seat to it. Alright, so I'm going to peel some of that extra out of there. Coming forward with it. Okay. Now it's glued. It is completely packed full of epoxy. And yet I have way too much. But again, I'd rather have way too much than be just a little bit short. Okay. It's time for serious cleanup. So there you have it, guys. A G2 American Tackle carbon fiber full length adjustable rear grip with a blade trigger seat and the 3K insert to match the 3K on the rest of the carbon fiber. So about an hour and a half real time. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit more when it starts to set pretty good. I will probably wipe it down with a little Goo Gone. I just spray it on a paper towel and wipe it down. It gets any of the little trace fingerprint-y kind of things of the epoxy that you may have gotten on it that you didn't see, because it will show in the sunlight. But anyway, there she is. Now, if you guys are enjoying this content, go ahead and click the like and subscribe buttons and share this video with your buddies. Do what you can to help this channel grow. I'm making these videos. I know how to do this stuff, but I would like your help. So give me a hand, subscribe, like, and if this is the first time you've seen a video on this channel, watch this video next. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.